All right, welcome to Criminals Hate Me. And guys, today we're going to be covering a case because there's some updates in this case. And this is a case that is very dear and near to me because I've been covering it a long time. And me and Reed, when we were doing our podcast a couple years ago, this is one of the main cases that me and him covered. And we even had someone reach out to us who runs a website that's dedicated to this case. And I think Reed donated some money, and we got our podcast logo up on the screen like in a movie theater or something, with some kind of advertising that shows that we're supporting, the this case and the investigation into this case, basically. So we've been covering this case for a long time, and now I'm going to do an update because we have several updates that I'd like to get into. And for those of you who don't know what this case is, this is the case of the missing baby Deorr Kunz Jr. Okay, here in the middle, this is the baby that's missing. They were at this campground called Timber Creek Campground in Idaho. Over here to the left, here's the mother Jessica and the father Bernal when they were being interviewed by the news. Here's Grandpa Bob over here. As you can see, he has a breathing tubes and a machine, and he's not very mobile, and so that's gonna play a big factor in who could have possibly done something to Deorr. And then here's Isaac Rainwand. This is a very strange character. He wasn't really friends with the parents before this trip, and I think he was more of not really good friends with the grandpa, but just an associate. And no one can really explain why this Isaac guy tagged along on this camping trip. But this was when the news was interviewing him too. So we're going to jump right in, guys. I'm not going to talk all day. What I'm going to do right now is, for those of you who don't know a lot about this case and who have never heard the backstory of it or anything like that, I'm going to play the 911 call. And it's about 4 minutes, maybe a little more than 4 minutes. So we'll play that, and that'll give you a good grasp of this case. But these are the major players here: the two parents, the oddball friend, and the grandpa. Okay, and let's jump into this 911 call, and then after the call, we're going to jump into all of the updates.
14:28 4 seconds, July 10, 2015.
What's the address of your emergency?
I'm actually camping in Ledor, just outside of Ledor.
Uh-huh.
My 2-year-old son, we can't find him.
What's your name?
Jessica
Jessica who?
Mitchell.
How long has he been missing?
About an hour.
An hour?
Yeah.
Are you by water?
Yes.
Okay, stay on the phone with me, okay?
Okay.
I'm going to put you on hold. John? I need... Do you know which campground you're in? What?
Timber Creek.
Pardon me?
It's Stone Reservoir, Timber Creek.
Stone Reservoir?
Yeah, or Timber Creek.
Hold on. We need search and rescue. Jessica? Jessica?
Yeah.
What's your son's name?
Or
What is it?
Deorr. O-R-R.
What's his first name?
That's his first name. Deorr.
Oh. D-O-R-R?
O-R.
Just O-R-R? Okay. What is he wearing?
He was wearing cowboy boots, a blue pair, like pajama pants, and a camel jacket. And he's got shaggy blonde hair.
How tall is he? Hello?
I'm not exactly sure how. He's about.
Are you there?
Yeah.
Okay. Is your husband calling too?
Like all down where we were camping at, and we can't find him at all.
Okay. Hang on. Do you know how far outside of Leadore you are? What?
It's the turnoff right after like the general store and the post office in Leadore, and it's at Timber Creek.
As you're going up over the pass?
If you're in Leadore and you're at the like gas station, you take the street on the left-hand side, right across the street from the gas station, and go straight out that street.
Is it a paved road?
No.
Okay, as you're headed towards Leadore, you take a right on the street across the street from the gas station.
It would be a left.
A left.
Yeah. And there's a sign that says like Timber Creek and
okay,
stuff like that.
And you're gonna like from Idaho Falls.
Yeah.
Okay. Hang on just a second. She said you take a left on the street just past the gas station as you're coming in from Idaho Falls, and it says Timber Creek. Okay. Okay, we need you to stay within cell service. We've got people going on the way.
Thank you.
Wait a minute. And you keep us updated with anything that's going on, okay?
Okay.
All right. Don't go away from cell service.
Okay.
Okay. Thanks, Jessica.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
All right, so I hope you enjoyed that 911 call and that it kind of gets you caught up on this case and gives you a good idea about the case if you've never heard of it. So let's jump into the updates. So there were several private investigators that worked on this case, okay? And just recently we had the 10-year anniversary of Deorr missing, because he went missing on July 15th, 2015. So July 15th, just 2 days ago, was 10 years he was missing. So this is Nate Eaton. He's from East Idaho News, and he's doing all these interviews with the PIs, and he interviews the sheriffs. And for all these years, these guys haven't really been able to release much information on the case, as you know, on an ongoing investigation. But it's been 10 years, and that's kind of out the window now. So now these guys are giving their theories, finally. They're finally talking. So if you want to watch this video, go look it up. It's on East Idaho News channel. And here's the one with David Marshburn, and he shares his theory. Okay, so what I'm going to do is, I can't play the video because of copyright reasons, but what I did is I broke it all down and kind of summarized it. Okay, and that's what we're going to go over. Okay, so this is update number 1, and I got 3 updates, but I'm going to read off all these updates. Okay, this is number 1. Okay, so this is what that first PI, David Marshburn, thinks. Okay, let's get through all this real quick. David adamantly rules out the parents, and he believes Isaac Rainwan, a friend of the grandfather, is responsible for Deorr's disappearance. Here's the motive. Isaac was infatuated with Jessica, Deorr's mother, and David theorizes Isaac saw an opportunity to get rid of Deorr and potentially Vernal, which is the father, believing this would allow him to be with Jessica. That's a crazy theory, but that's what he thinks. What's the opportunity and the evidence? So Isaac and Deorr were both missing for a significant period during this disappearance. Isaac placed himself in the exact area where David's cadaver dogs alerted. Jessica reportedly saw Isaac carrying a two-tone tackle box. That's what she thought he was carrying. And then David found a torn, blood-stained, two-tone fleece jacket high up on the difficult-to-access mountainside above the campsite. So he thinks that Jessica did not see Isaac carrying a tackle box, that it was actually this two-tone fleece jacket. He theorizes Isaac may have used the jacket to carry Deorr, and animals later dragged it up the mountain. Isaac exhibited suspicious behavior and deception during interviews and in a confrontation with Vernal. So supposedly behind closed doors there was something that a lot of people don't know about, but Isaac and Deorr's dad got into a very, very heated argument, and they were almost fighting, supposedly. So this is why David believes that the parents are innocent, based on a lot of the stuff that he's seen behind the scenes that the public hasn't. So this is what David thinks likely happened. David believes Isaac took Deorr, likely killed him, though accident versus intent isn't explicitly defined, and disposed of the body. The jacket find suggests a possible method or means. So they've been looking all this time trying to figure out how Deorr disappeared, and this guy thinks the jacket was how Isaac did it. Grandfather's robe. Grandpa Bob, which is now he's now deceased, likely fell asleep while he was supposed to be watching Deorr and had no direct involvement in the disappearance. He felt guilt for bringing Isaac and falling asleep. So Grandpa couldn't move. He had the oxygen machine, and he was basically planted in a lawn chair for the whole time they were camping. So the grandpa's pretty much ruled out, but he likely fell asleep, and that's when David thinks that Isaac did something to Deorr while the parents were off wherever. Finding Deorr. David is pessimistic about traditional methods, dogs, ground penetrating radar, etc., due to time and terrain. He believes the only way to find Deorr is a massive, coordinated volunteer search covering the campsite, the mountain, especially the treacherous backside, and surrounding areas, looking for remains or evidence scattered by evidence. And here's the key takeaways from the private investigator David Marshburn. He thinks Isaac Rainwan is guilty, and he was motivated by his obsession with Jessica. He thinks the parents are innocent and the grandfather are innocent, but they were negligent, but they weren't involved. Evidence. Isaac's timeline discrepancies. Dog alerts placing him at the scene. Discovery of suspicious jacket matching Jessica's description. So they found all that. So the location theory. The body likely initially was hidden or disposed of near the campsite or creek, possibly then moved or scattered by animals onto the difficult mountain terrain. So there's a huge mountain, and that's what supposedly Jessica seen Isaac up there on top of it. And on the other side of the mountain, it's a huge cliff where it's very, very, very dangerous, and you can't really scale it, you can't go down it, you can't search it. And David Marshburn thinks that Deorr is likely on that other side of the cliff and he'll never be found just because it's too hard. So solution: requires a large-scale physical search effort. So that's what David Marshburn thinks, okay? And now there's another PI, and we're going to get into his theories and his updates. All right, so this is Philip Klein, the private investigator that's been on the case a long time, and he's been basically on and off the case because he had some situations where he straight up told Deorr's parents, if you lie to me, I'm done with this case. And so he withdrew himself several times, and then he keeps coming back, and I guess he's back on it now. Okay, and so this is Nate Eaton's interview with him. Like I say, you can go watch it if you want, but I'm just giving you the quick and dirty summary of these videos, okay, and these updates. So what does Philip Klein think? He thinks it was an accidental death. He firmly believes there was an accidental death the night before Deorr was reported missing. Specifically, he states, I believe that there was an accident up there with the truck rolling over the child. He reiterates this was not an intentional homicide, cover-up and disposal. Following the accident, he believes the parents covered it up. In the method, they used the missing blue cooler to dispose of Deorr's body. So supposedly there's a blue cooler missing. I don't know how they know that, but supposedly there is. Okay? And he thinks Deorr was in the cooler. Timing. The disposal likely happened during the 911 call period or earlier, possibly when Jessica and Vernal, the parents, went down to the store to buy the Swedish fish candy and other items. Location. The cooler was placed in a specific dumpster. Final disposition. That dumpster was emptied by a trash truck shortly after, a day and a half later, and taken to a landfill. The investigator believes Deorr's remains are still inside that cooler in the landfill. So what's the search plan? The next major step is an excavation of a specific section of the landfill identified through waste management records, which tracks dumpster pickup times and designated dump zones. He believes this is feasible. He thinks that there's records that show exactly where those dumpsters were dumped in that landfill from that day that Deorr went missing, and that he can go dig it up. Assessment of individuals. The parents are considered suspects with information cited for numerous inconsistent and changing stories. Examples: stopping for pizza twice, purchases at the store, interactions with beer truck driver. He believes their actions after the disappearance were deceptive because he went and asked all these, like the pizza place and the stores and the beer truck driver, and he couldn't confirm that the parents actually were at these places and talked to these people. Okay, Grandpa Bob. He knew what happened but was sworn to secrecy. Referenced a particularly callous statement Bob allegedly made. He said, "Oh, he was just a 2-year-old. They can go in the cabin and make another one. What's done is done." Man, that's a crazy thing to say about your grandchild that's missing, but that's what he said before he died. Isaac, the friend. He's viewed as a credible witness. His story has never changed over the years and aligns with the investigator's timeline / understanding of events. Examples: scene panic, Deorr being present initially. So this is what's crazy, is you got two different PIs working on this case, and they both have different theories. Okay, the other guy that we just talked about, he thinks Isaac did it. Okay, this PI, Philip Klein, he thinks Isaac is a credible witness and that he's innocent. So it's bizarre. And it's kind of like Noah's case, where a lot of people think a lot of different things when we're all looking at the same evidence. But it happens. In the dismissal of other theories, he definitely rules out the following. Deorr not being at the campsite. He was there. So a lot of people came up with their conspiracy theories that Deorr was never even at that campsite. But he's saying that Deorr absolutely was. He's ruling out an animal attack. And he's ruling out Deorr wandering off and being abducted. There's no evidence of that, okay? So to summarize what Philip Klein thinks. Philip believes Deorr died in a tragic accidental truck rollover at the campsite the night before he was reported missing. The parents then concealed the death by placing his body in a blue cooler, disposing of it in a dumpster shortly after the incident. That dumpster was emptied into a specific landfill area shortly thereafter. He plans to search that landfill section to find the cooler in Deorr's remains. He considers the parents responsible for the cover-up, and he finds Grandpa Bob complicit in keeping the secret, but he views Isaac as a reliable witness. So man, this case is a mess. But it just goes to show that, because he's talking about a cover-up with the parents and that the grandpa was involved, it just goes to show, as we see in Noah's case, that cover-ups do happen. They're very, very common. And it's just sad that it happened in this case also. So let's move on to the last update. And this is Nate Eaton's interview with the retired sheriff Steve Pinner, which I guess he was still a sheriff whenever Deorr went missing, so he was part of the investigation. And you have current sheriff John Bennett. Okay, so what do these two guys think? The sheriffs firmly believe Deorr was present at the campsite on July 10, 2015, based on consistent statements from the four adults, the parents, the grandpa, and Isaac. So they're saying that all the conspiracy theorists are wrong, that Deorr actually was at that campsite, okay? No definitive explanation. After 10 years of intense investigation and searching, the sheriffs admit they do not know what happened to Deorr. They have no leading theory that they can substantiate. So it's just crazy that you have two private investigators with two different crazy theories, but the sheriffs have no theories. So ruling out theories is difficult. While they discuss possibilities, they emphasize that they cannot rule any major theory out. So the wandering off theory, they acknowledge it's possible that the 2-year-old wandered off beyond the extensive initial search perimeter. So they only searched 2.5 to 5 miles. But they're saying it's possible that Deorr, if he wandered off, that he could have went further, which I don't think so. Not for a 2-year-old, but I guess these guys are keeping an open mind, which law enforcement should, but that's a stretch, don't you think? Despite the massive search effort, grid searches, canines, helicopters, divers, horseback, and the challenges, the oversized boots, and the diaper. However, the lack of any trace evidence, boots, clothing, diaper remains being found over 10 years makes this less likely in their view. So they're saying it's possible he could have wandered off, but now they're saying less likely. And I agree. An animal attack. They consider wild animals possible but statistically rare. They note the expectation would be to find some evidence, clothing, or remains left behind, which hasn't occurred. So in 10 years, they think that they should have found something after an animal attack, which the other two PIs think that jacket is related that they found, but I guess the sheriffs aren't. They don't think that was Deorr's clothing or that it was related to the case. Abduction. They view this as a pretty slim chance due to the remote location and lack of other people present. Only one other couple camped nearby, but acknowledge it cannot be ruled out. So it can't be ruled out, but an abduction is very, very low probability, and I agree. It's a crazy place to kidnap a kid out in a campsite like that. Okay, foul play / withholding information. While the 4 adults are considered persons of interest simply because they were present, that's the only reason. Okay, the sheriffs explicitly state they have no probable cause, reasonable suspicion, or hard evidence to support claims of foul play, or that the adults know more than they've said. They describe the adults as cooperative over the years. So they do not think that any of those 4 adults had anything to do with the disappearance because there's no evidence. The overwhelming theme is the complete absence of physical evidence or credible leads. There's no trace of Deorr, clothing, boots, diaper remains found despite repeated searches over 10 years. All analyzed items like bones or clothing fragments were ruled out as unrelated or inconclusive. One bone fragment was tested by the FBI and yielded nothing. No inconsistencies in the core accounts of the 4 adults regarding the timeline and location. So they've all been consistent according to law enforcement. Corroboration that the parents went to town as stated. So there's a lot of wishy-washy stuff and conspiracy theories about that the parents went to town to cover up Deorr's death, and law enforcement is saying no. Frustration and uncertainty. The sheriffs expressed the difficulty of the case after 10 years, acknowledging the window for finding evidence is shrinking. They probably never will find any. They remain committed to the case but have exhausted current avenues. They hope for resolution through either Deorr being found alive, remains being discovered and identified, or a credible new lead emerging. Assessment of other factors. Web sleuths. That's me, baby. I'm a web sleuth. Generally seen as generating more debris and unproductive leads than being helpful information, though occasionally sparking a new idea. And that's what I try to do on this channel, guys and gals. I'm not trying to spread garbage. I'm just trying to look at the evidence and maybe come up with some ideas that nobody else has. You know, like in the Noah video that I did where I showed y'all a picture of the lady who was scalped and how it looks like it could possibly be what happened to Noah, possibly. You know, I'm just throwing ideas out there. Okay. Grandpa Bob's death, not seen as detrimental as he had consistently placed Deorr at the scene, but he offered no new critical information. The search efforts, believed to be extremely thorough initially and in follow-ups, they find it unlikely evidence was missed within the core search areas. So they believe that they did a very thorough search and that they did not miss anything. But you have the other PI, David Marshburn, saying that the evidence is probably on the other side of that hill, down that cliff. So that's pretty interesting that they disagree there. In essence, the sheriffs believe Deorr was at the remote campsite but vanished without a trace. After a decade of exhaustive investigation and searching, they have no conclusive evidence to determine how he vanished or what happened to him, and they cannot rule out any of the main possibilities, which is wandering, or an animal got him, or abduction, or foul play, with certainty, while noting some seem less likely than others based on the lack of evidence. And I agree there. Seems like there's only one or two possibilities of what could have happened, and I don't think it was an animal. The case remains frustratingly unsolved due to the total absence of physical clues or credible leads pointing to a specific outcome. So that is the 3 updates on this case, and I just wanted to get another case out there because Noah's case seems to be in good hands right now. So I'm probably not going to be making a lot of videos about Noah, unless more info comes out. I'll give you updates and stuff, but I think that I've done everything I can do on Noah's case. And so now we're going to start venturing into some other cases, and I'll do some updates like this, and then I'm trying to find a case right now where I can really dig into that's unsolved, and a case that I feel like I can make a difference and maybe find stuff or some ideas that law enforcement or others haven't put out there yet. So if y'all have any ideas, let me know. I'm very, very particular about the cases that I cover. It's got to be really be something that really interests me. Okay, like this. I've been covering this case or looking into this case and being interested in this case for a long time. So there's a few others that I'll probably do some updates on, but we'll see. But my thoughts on this case is, for sure I'm ruling out the grandpa, because he wasn't even mobile. Okay, and it's down to Isaac and the parents. Okay, and for the longest time I believed that it was something to do with the parents, because his dad made a very weird statement one time in an interview that I watched, and it's just like Noah's case, where I think that Caden and Jack and all these others they're putting stuff out there because they want you to know that and want you to think that, in case the truth ever comes out, then they can go back and say, well, I told you, like for the ATV example. Like, let's say that if Noah's case is solved and they finally realize that he died on an ATV accident, okay? Well, now Caden and Jack can say, well, we told y'all. We kept mentioning the ATV over and over and over, And so in this case, in the Deorr Kunz case, the thing that happened that was similar to that is Deorr's dad wanted to make sure that everyone knows that Deorr was like infatuated with the tailpipe, the exhaust pipe on his truck. Like, he claims that Deorr would always go to the back of the truck and he was playing with that exhaust pipe, and he liked to stick his whole arm, his hand and his arm, all the way into that exhaust pipe, and that he would get it stuck in there. and you know, and then he'd pull his arm out and it would be pitch black. So if one of Philip Klein, if he's right about his theory that there was a truck accident that rolled over him, I think the dad is foreshadowing and giving us a hint. Well, the kid liked to jack around with the tailpipe, so he probably didn't think this case would go on unsolved for 10 years. So he was probably setting up his defense, is what I think. So just that part alone is very, very strange for him to be saying something like that, and for him to be putting that out there. It just seems like he was building his defense. And then the other weird thing is these two split up soon after this case. So they're no longer together. So anyways, I don't know what happened to the kid, but I think it's a bit far-fetched to blame this Isaac guy. I mean, he got a ride out there with them, and I just don't see when he would have had the opportunity, to do something to the kid, unless these two were passed out drunk and slept in real late one morning or something. I mean, I don't know. It's a bit odd, but I mean, I hate to say it, but I'm on the side of Philip Klein, and I think that something happened. I don't know what, but he's probably going to be found in that cooler. If there really is a blue cooler missing, I don't know how he knows that, like I said, but he's probably in the cooler, unfortunately, and hopefully Philip finds him in the landfill so that we can put closure to this case. And if so, then I think the parents need to be arrested. So until next time, guys, y'all take care.